The use of penances. Geronda. Does the precise observance of the commandments help us feel God near us? Which commandments? Those of the Mosaic law? No, those of the gospel. The observance of the commandments does help, but it must be a correct and proper observance, for it is actually possible to observe the commandments wrongly. Spiritual life requires divine righteousness, not a dry observance of the law. We see the discernment with which the Holy Fathers guided the people even in the application of the sacred canons. Saint Basil the Great, the strictest father of the Church, who has written the most demanding canons, refers to a canon that applies to a particular sin, but then he himself adds, "Do not examine the time but the manner of repentance." In other words, if two people committed the same sin, the spiritual father may impose on one man the penance not to receive Holy Communion for 2 years, while on the other he may impose only 2 months. There can be that much of a difference. Does penance help one to cast out a passion? One must understand that penance is meant to help someone. Otherwise, what can one say? If you attempt to correct someone by physical punishment, you will accomplish nothing. If you try to correct someone by force, Christ will turn to you on Judgment Day and say, "Were you a Diocletian?" To the punished one, he will say, "What you achieved, you did so because you were forced to." We don't strangle someone in order to ensure paradise to him. We try to help him seek some fruitful ascetic discipline for himself. He must come to the point of being joyful because he is living and joyful because he is dying. Penances are left up to the discernment of the spiritual father. The spiritual father must be uncompromisingly strict with him who sins callously. The one who is overcome by sin but who repents becomes humble and modestly asks for forgiveness, will be helped with discernment by his spiritual father to approach God again. This is what many of the saints did. Saint Arsenius the Cappadocian, as a spiritual father, did not usually give the people penances. He tried to bring them to an awareness so that they themselves, out of philorimo, would choose to do some ascetic discipline or act of charity or other goodness. Whenever he observed a little child who was possessed or paralyzed and understood that the parents were the cause for the child's suffering, he would first heal the child and then impose a discipline on the parents to make them careful in the future. Some people say, "Oh, this particular spiritual father is very patristic. He is very strict. He is smart, he has a good memory, and knows the pedalion by heart." A spiritual father who applies precisely the rules contained in the pedalion, however, may harm the church. Does it do any good when the spiritual father takes the pedalion and begins, "What sin have you committed? This one. What is written here about it? This many years of abstention from Holy Communion for you. And what have you done? This. What is written here? This rule applies here." So, Geronda, one must take into account dozens of things. Yes, especially in today's society, one cannot just go and apply the entire canonical tradition of the Church with blind, indiscreet austerity. He should cultivate a sense of philorimo in people. In order to be able to help other souls, the spiritual father must first do considerable work on himself. Otherwise, he will go around breaking heads. The pedalion is called the rudder because it guides man towards salvation, sometimes in one way and in other times in another way. As the captain of the ship turns the rudder to the left or to the right in order to bring the ship to shore, if he were to navigate the ship in a straight line without turning when needed, he would bring it upon the rocks, sink it, and everyone on board would be drowned. If the spiritual father uses the canons of the church as if they were loose military canons, and not with discernment in accordance with each person's needs and the repentance demonstrated, then instead of healing souls, he'll be committing a crime.